Hello, welcome to Steve McDonald's Crafting, and today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be upcycling this mirror here. Now, I broke this mirror quite a few years ago and then cut it into shape in case I wanted to use it, and now I'm going to make a nice mirror out of it. What I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using this white and blue glass, cutting it, putting a border around it, copper foiling it, and then soldering it so it can be hung up on the wall rather than chucking it out. Everything that I use today I will link in the description below. Everything I use is quite readily available, and I'll also talk about some of the safety issues and how to do things as we go on and introduce you to the tools that I use. So without too much further ado, let's get on. Before I cut the glass, what I will need to determine is how wide I want it to be from the actual mirror, and I don't want it to be a really intrusive border, but I do want it to be noticeable. So what I'm going to be using is about an approximate 4 centimetre in width border here, which is about 1.5 inches, to be honest. All I need to do is I need to measure my glass, which is 4.5 centimetres, and then strike a line across it to be able to cut it. So let's move that out of the way without trying to smash it to pieces again. I'm going to look at my glass, and as you can see, the grain of this glass, or the pattern of this glass, is running downwards, and I'm not really too bothered about which way round it goes, or it doesn't make any difference to the cutting of the glass, but it's just to do with the pattern, and I'm not worried about that whatsoever, how the pattern falls. And I don't want to have uniformed pieces going all the way around. I want it to be all different sized pieces going all around. So all I need to do is I need to get my marker pen, and I just need to measure off of this. So I'm going to go down this way, 4 centimetres. When you think about your 4 centimetres, you also need to think about the fact that some of that is going to be hidden, not only by this tape. I'm going to lose a bit of space through the tape, because the tape will go on there and then wrap around. Now, I'm quite happy with that. It's about 1/4 centimetre each side, so that's going to take it down. So my visible bit is going to be about 3.5 centimetres. I am going to increase that because I think that's going to be a little bit too small, so I'm going to increase that to 5 centimetres. I need to cut a piece of glass going across there. That's 5 centimetres. So I'm just going to measure up this end as well. And then all I have to do is put my set square on there, mark it to there like that. Then I know that edge is going to be square. Get my glass cutter. Now I use this glass cutter because it actually holds a lubricating oil in it as well. And I find that to be really, really useful. It glides much easier along the glass. And I just line that up so my circle of the actual cutter lines up with my mark there. And when you're doing it, you need to do an even pressure, but you don't need to push down so hard that you're trying to break through the glass. You just need to hear that sound. And if you hear that sound, then I would imagine that is enough. There we go, and it just breaks off. Now, if it doesn't break off, then there is another technique that you can use. And if you feel more comfortable, wear gloves. If you don't, then don't worry about it. I mean, I have cut myself quite a few times, but never badly. But then I do that in my general day, to be honest. So I'm going to cut another bit, and then I'm going to show you, if you can't break it off, how you can get it to come apart. I've got my 2 5s there. So again, we want to hear that nice noise. So if you can't get it to come apart, then what you can do is gently, I use the end of me cutter, tap along underneath. And then it will come off. And it still gives you a straight line, and that works just as well. So let's just measure these 2 pieces up against each other, make sure I've been accurate. I'm never 100%. Yep, I'm being quite accurate there. That should be enough white, because this is a square mirror, and as you can see, those pieces are longer than those 2 pieces. So that's enough white. It's not a problem. So now all I need to do is cut off the same amount of blue and then think about whether I want to have a different colour in the corners or whether I want to have the same sort of colour in the corners. You could cut it across there and then just have another blue piece butting up against that there, like that. So that would be there, that would be there, and that would be and then have a different colour there. Or you could have a full piece of blue going right across there and right across there. I'm just going to go ahead and cut my blue glass exactly the same way, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I do next. I've got my glass cut now, and what I've done is I've cut each strip so it's the same length as each of the sides of the actual piece of mirror that I'm using. And then what I will do is I will just cut this up and then place it around to where I decide that I want it to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these and then I will fit them in and around the picture, but I will do each side at a time so I know that each side fits and I'm not wasting a lot of glass. For instance, I'll move that mirror there. This first piece I'm going to cut to that. Oh, and I should have said this is a proper glass cutting mat, and it's honeycombed like this because as you cut, any little tiny fragments of glass just fall into these little holes and they don't get in your hands and your fingers and things, which is really useful. The first bit I'm just going to cut there. So that's the first bit. I now know that I need a piece of blue to go next to that. I might have a smaller bit of blue. Yep, so there. Then I'm going to do white, and I'm going to do a real smaller piece of white here. Each time I'm making sure I'm cutting it square, see here, by butting that up and ensuring that fits. There's a smaller piece. And any of these little gaps you're not going to see because once you've foiled it and you've put the solder on, it just covers those up, and I will show you that too. Right, so this bit I am going to measure to ensure that it goes all the way across to the corner of that mirror. I know I need it to finish there. Remembering to allow for your wheel as well. That fits there nicely. And now what I can do is I can think, right, I don't want that big bit there. I want that little bit there. I want that bigger bit on the corner. And whichever way you play around with these is still all going to fit because you knew it fitted to start with. Yeah, and I quite like that. That's that side done. And I'm just going to go ahead now and do all the other sides, and I'll show you what it looks like once I've got all the bits cut. Finished cutting all my glass, and I'm really pleased with it and how it's come out. And what I went for was a contrasting dichroic glass in the corners, which gives it, it's like a peacock glass really, and I really like how that's coming out. And you may be wondering why there's gaps in between each one of the pieces of glass. So it's like a mosaic. You've got to fill those gaps with something, and I will be filling those gaps with this copper and then filling those gaps with solder. So you need to have those gaps in there, if not it would be too large for the actual piece of glass. What I'm now going to do is I'm now going to clean all these pieces with some 99% alcohol. It won't damage the glass at all whatsoever, but it will get rid of any grease that's on there before I then go ahead and put all the copper foil on and then solder it. So I'll quickly show you how I do that. And if you don't clean it, then what you could have is you could have little specks of oil from your glass cutter or anything else that could prevent the foil from actually sticking. So all I do is I go along the edge with fairly large thick piece so it's not going to cut me if there's any sharp bits, and just give it a bit of a clean. And that will do is that will remove any grease and bits and pieces that are on there. And then I will leave that to evaporate off. It won't take many minutes to evaporate off. And then I'm going to foil all this. And I try and keep everything in the same position because that way I know where it goes. I could number this. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 corner. So then I would work from here, and I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, because that's that 2 corner, 1, 1, because that's that 1 corner, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and that should be 3, not 4. And that should be 4, not 3. 16, 3, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 4, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Now, you can number it however you like, but that's just the system that I've devised for me when I number things. But what you have to be careful is, as soon as I put any alcohol or anything onto those numbers, it's just going to clean them off. So that's really why I try not to worry about numbering. You could put little paper sticky labels on it. That wouldn't rub it off. But it's up to you how you do that, or even if you do it. Just going to go ahead, clean all these pieces, and then I'll come back. I'm ready now to put the foil on this, and it comes with a sticky back like this. And all you do is you peel the bit off. And what you do is you put your glass, try not to touch the edges of your glass too much as well, because you don't want to get grease and oil on it. And you try and put that in the centre of this foil, like so. And then you wrap your foil around, trying to keep it as central as possible. I'm not very good at keeping it central, but I'm not putting this into a shop to sell. That's all the way around, because that is what's going to create your foil seal and allow your solder to stick to this and then stick to the other piece of the glass. So once you've got that done there, all you have to do is fold that over. And then that's nicely covered. And I use this, which is called a fid. And then I just go over it. I normally use this bit of the fid. Go over it and ensure all the way round that everything is nice and neatly stuck down. And flat. And it should stick down because you've done the bit with the alcohol. And that isn't a step that you really want to think, oh, I'm not going to bother to do that. It's such an important step. And if you find, like I have here, that I've got that too wide because I'm not very gentle, and that would set that off too much for me, I'm not worried about the back because the back is going to be covered up anyway. So all I'll do is I'll take a sharp knife and I'll even that up on the front bit. And remove that, because the solder is not going to stick to anything other than the foil. So you can see there I've got a bit that's turned over. I'd like to say I did all this on purpose just to show you how to put things right when it goes wrong, but I didn't. It's just how I am. So I'm just going to put a little bit there, line that up with that, like that. And then fold that round. Give it a little rub over with the fid. There we go, and put it back in its place, which is there. And as you can see, I have rubbed the number off, so I will just renumber that one. Carry on and do these. It's probably going to take me about an hour to do all these. And then I'll come back and show you what I do next. I've now transferred this onto my fireproof soldering board, and this is Really, really useful. It's a nice size. I've got everything laid out where I want it, and what I'm going to do is, now it's laid out where I want it, I'm going to tack each one of the joins together so that it doesn't move, and then I'll go round and solder it. But before I do that, I will put some flux on, because it's important to have the flux on, because not only does it clean, this is a self-cleaning flux as well, it is also allows the solder to run to where you want it. But the important thing is you must use this in a well-ventilated area. I've got the door open. I've also got my extractor fan on, which was put there, designed, it's a powerful one, designed for if I'm soldering. I'm also going to put some gloves on as well, because I don't want the flux on my hand. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush into the flux, and where I want to put it, like for instance there, I'll just pop the flux on it, making sure it gets to all the bits that I want. My iron is hot enough, and I just need to melt my solder onto here, but I need to prime my iron first, and it'll only stick to where the copper foil is. It won't stick to anywhere else. And so I'm just going to go round, and I'm just going to do all the joints so that this doesn't move out of place and it's all in where I want it, and then I can be a little bit more, I suppose, boisterous with it as opposed to delicate with it, because I know it's not going to move. Just need a little bit, and then once we'll do is, once we go round and do the rest of the soldering, which I'll show you, we can then even that out and it will look a lot more flat. And the solder that I'm using here is also a lead-free solder, because it's a lot better for you, and if you do happen to get any fumes in, then they're not going to be as harmful as the lead ones. And I always try and use a lead-free solder. So that's now all tacked down, and that actually isn't going to go anywhere, but I wouldn't lift it up at this stage, because at this stage you've still only got a really small connection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now flux everywhere that I want the solder to go. And then I'm going to go round and solder it. And how I solder is I let the solder iron melt the actual solder, and then I run along it until it's completely covered. And I'm not the best solderer because of my tremor, but I do get a not bad result. And you just need it to cover the actual foil. Now, I won't leave this solder silver. I will change it to a different colour. I've got some things that kind of tarnish the solder and change it, and that I'll show you as well. As you can see now there, that is soldered. Once we turn this over and do the other side, then that will be fine. It will hold this all together lovely. And if you've got a bit like I had there that didn't look so good, you just run over it with your soldering iron. It will remelt that solder, and you can finish it off nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and then I'm going to show you what I do when I'll do the other side as well. All you do is turn it over and do exactly the same thing. And then I'll show you how I finish the edges off. I've gone round now, and I've done both the front and the back. And now all I have to do is these edges here. I should have enough solder that's come from the rest of the soldering just to kind of give those a bit of a covering. And then just using the edge of my solder iron, like this, to run a small bead across this whole top. I've gone over that now with this copper patina, and as you can see, that is all nice and covered. It was really simple to do. I meant to record it and didn't push record. But so what I did was I just put some on a cloth like this. and then went over it, and it does it in a matter of seconds. Now what I will do is I will wash this in some soapy water to make sure that I've got all the bits that are on here, for in case there's any of this left over, to ensure that I've got rid of them. And what that will do is that will really allow that to have more of a antique-y look, as opposed to having a look of being brand new. And the solder would have tarnished anyway. It's not worth, for me, I didn't want to leave it silver. And I've also done the back, and I've also done the edges as well. And I'm going to clean this up, and then I'll hang it up and I'll show you what it looks like finished. Well, I've added some hooks to it now, and I'm really, really pleased with how it's come out, and I've hung it up on my wall, and it's reflecting some of my other art that I've got hung up on the wall. I love it. I really do. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed doing glass work. Let me just zoom out of it so you can see what it looks like. Sorry about having the camera in the middle of the picture. I'll put something a little better in the picture. Look how pretty that picture is. I hope you've enjoyed this project as much as I have, and let me know in the comments again what you think of it, and if you'd like to see me do some more glass work. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and please hit the thumbs up and share this video wherever you can. That really helps me as well. Everything that I've used today I will link in the description below, so you can easily get hold of anything if you fancy having a go, because it's really easy. It isn't hard at all, and it's not overly expensive to do either, and you can make some great bits as well, and I'm sure they would sell well. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this overall. I may put it in the house, or I may leave it up here, or I may even put it on my website and sell it. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Take care. Enjoy your crafting. See you soon. Bye.